When you think about Don, when you think about the Beatles' career and how it grew into such a short span and how they just matured and they weren't even 30 yet when it ended. And the music they wrote, crazy.
People don't realize they weren't on the road, every year making a record on a tour bus, a jet, whatever. They just cranked out a lot of music in like 4 or 5 years.
66, they stopped touring. I think it was like the last concert could have been in San Francisco at Candlestick Park.
Yeah, they were done. They said, we're not going to tour anymore. We're just going to make music. We want to make music.
The PA
I don't
was
blame them. That freaking, so stupid, the hysteria when they played outdoors. You can't even hear them playing.
no.
Because these people are screaming bloody murder and not even listening. It was more playing for a bunch of hysterical people.
The PA systems weren't what they are today, so they weren't heard.
They couldn't hear shit.
They couldn't.
I watch that movie and I see the PA and I go, I've got amplifiers for my guitar bigger than that.
Right? It's
Back
crazy.
in the day,
But that's what it was back in the day. That's what it was. But when you think about that, so okay, they stopped touring. Then they did Revolver, and then from there, Sergeant Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour. You know, it
And
went
they're
in.
changing all the time. That I always argued with the record company. This is in now. This is the style of music. I said, I don't know what that means, style of music. I just write. I just write what comes out of my heart and it goes on the record. And sometimes they're good songs and sometimes I'm disappointed with them. I didn't write all great songs, but a record company would tell you this is the style. I want to fire back and say, this is the style this week. Who knows? Look now, we're playing concerts, playing all our hits and the new songs, even up the new album, Heaven Comes Down, and we're selling out every night. So I don't know how long it's going to last, but we'll see what happens. But the Beatles had the same problem. They got tired of touring. They had wives. They had kids.
Mhm.
They didn't want to sit on a jet. You know, I saw Ringo this year. He's got an all-star band. And that was great. And Ringo's still fit. I think he's 80 something.
He looks fantastic. The guy, vegetarian, he is.
Vegetarian, total skinny. Him and his wife. There's health
Barbara
nuts.
Bach, yeah.
She's beautiful still. And they're,
Remember her in The Spy Who Loved Me? She was a
oh
Bond girl.
man, and she was beautiful. And then
Mhm.
you look at them, and they just went totally clean living because same thing. He didn't want to die young. He was drinking and doing drugs and dropping acid, and they were all down the
Yeah,
rabbit hole.
yeah.
And Ringo is out there. I see him running around the stage like, damn, that guy's got a lot of energy. He's running back and forth and singing, and I was very, very impressed. And plus, he did the same thing. He's got A-list players. He's got the keyboard player from Journey, and he's got the
Steve
bass
Lukather, right?
Steve Lukather, the bass player, and they all do their hits. All the people in his band are A-list.
They're all A-list. Yeah, it's funny. He's the oldest Beatle too, Ringo, and he looks younger than McCartney now, which is crazy. The whole thing. It's great. Do you remember? We're coming up to the anniversary
Yeah.
of Lennon's murder, the assassination of John Lennon. Do you remember where you were at when you heard the news about John Lennon?
I actually don't.
You don't.
I don't remember. No, I don't. I heard it. I probably was on the tour bus.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we heard it like the next morning, and everybody said it's got to be a rumor. And well, same with I was very lucky to meet George Harrison, and he
Really?
had brain cancer, and he was out in L.A. and he had a chiropractor guy with him, and I can't remember his name, and he was trying all these alternative remedies for his cancer. They got in remission.
Mm.
A lot of people don't realize that somebody broke into his mansion, the Abbey, and tried to kill him. They
Mhm.
bashed him over the head, and his wife said he kept saying, "Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to kill me?" That's the way George was. He wasn't fighting. He's not a fighter. He was a very he kept his spiritual focus till the end of his life. So I met him in Topanga Canyon, way up in the middle of nowhere, someone's house, and there was all these celebrities that lived up there still, hippies kind of, that were like famous in the '60s, and somebody said, "Oh, Don, you guys should play together, like jam." They had a big fire pit going right over the ocean. It's actually the one in the video, Walk Away. And George and I went down, and I said, "I got 2 guitars in my trunk." Man, I was shaking in my boots, because
Uh,
he's George Harrison, and he's all gray-haired like I am now, and he was just, we played a couple songs, but then all the other people came down and started banging tambourines and playing a flute, and, nobody's in sync, and it was like hippie fest. And I remember George just kinda stopped playing, looking at me, and he goes, "That was a lot of fun, Don, thank you, I have to go now." And I wanted to just throw everybody off the cliff, and I could have sat there for hours playing with George Harrison. It was a great
Man,
moment for me to meet him and play guitar with him. And then 3 weeks later, I meet him again at a recording studio down in Redondo called Total Access, and he was in there, uh, I think he knew he was terminal, and he had piles and piles of 2-inch tape to the ceiling of all this music he had written in his career that he never finished or released,
wow.
piles of it. And I thought, boy, well, I'd love to listen to what he did. People, you think about songs that are iconic, like "My Guitar Gently Weeps." I mean, that is genius. Genius. And he presented it to the band; they didn't want to do it. I don't never understood why the whole it's George and Paul and that's it. We don't care what George wants to do or Ringo or I don't know what that was all about, but every band has their problems. And that's what's cool about that film is that you see the kind of turmoil that was going on with them.
Yeah, yeah,
Is it?
you could see that. I actually had on my show producer Russ Titleman, who did Randy Newman, Short People, but he produced George Harrison's album as well, Blow Away. What's the
Wow.
name of the album? And then on that record, he did Steve Winwood, he did Eric Clapton, Journeyman. He produced all these great records and a lovely guy. But yeah, it was "Blow Away," I think it was the hit of the hit song, but I forgot the name of it. But on that album, I think the song "Not Guilty," which is on it, and Harrison was gonna he tried to get that on the White Album and never made it,
Didn't
and
make it.
didn't make it, but Russ, great guy, great producer, and Harrison, if anybody's listening, check that album out. It's really good. Great songwriter, George Harrison. I think it was because maybe he was the young Beatle and they didn't give him slack because they always looked at him as the kid. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but
Yeah, I've
it
got a
was,
book right now that I'm reading. It's called George Harrison, The Reluctant Beatle. It's called.
oh, really?
It's a great book, big book. It's called The Reluctant Beatle. But when you watch that movie, as we both watched, you see the band is in turmoil and they're just trying to pull it together for one more record. And Ringo's just sitting up there on his drums, just being very patient, very patient. It's a good insight
It
because,
is.
and somebody famous, very famous, edited all that footage together. They had like 24, 25
It
hours.
it was, Peter Jackson, I think, if I'm
Yeah,
got the
yeah,
name
Peter
correct.
Jackson, the guy that did The Hobbit, right?
Mhm, yeah, I think he did do The Hobbit, if I
He did The
believe I'm
Hobbit,
not
Peter
yeah,
Jackson. So
uh,
he put it all together. They went through it with George, and I don't know what happened to that record. He got sicker after that, and I remember he was headed for Mexico. He told me because he loved Indian food. And I came to the studio one day, and I didn't. And I walked in. I didn't mean to. The door wasn't locked. And Win Davis, who was working with George, said, "Oh, hey," and I saw George, and I said, "Oh, sorry, guys." So I walked out, and then they came out, and he said, "Could you go get us some Indian food?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll get you some Indian food," because he's a vegetarian. So them and the Indians make a lot of vegetarian
yeah.
dishes, except they'll burn your butt off. They're spicy.
Oh, yeah.
Oy, 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 oy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
last time I saw him, and when he passed, something that just happened. I think the 9/11, or there wasn't a big to do about his passing like there was with George. Central Park now has a big plaque.
Mhm.
The lyrics, George Harrison's a big bronze thing in the middle of Central Park. But it just seemed like when George passed, there was all this crazy stuff going on with 2 jets hitting the World Trade Center, and
Yeah, the
everything was
timing.
screwed up. So they
It
just said he passed and didn't say much.
Yeah, that album you're talking about, it was the last record was Brainwashed, it was his 12th record, and, Harrison was only 58 when he passed away. My age.
He
That's
was a
crazy.
youngster. He was a youngster, and again, we talk about you don't know how long we're gonna be here. We
No.
just don't know. So, that's why I told the boys, I think I need to slow down a little bit, you know? I can do 1 song, 1 show or 2 max, and my voice sounds like it does now. It's got a lot of wear and tear on it. So, I take a couple weeks off, I rest, we go out, do a show. Because now to play the show is just about I don't know, to feed your ego. It's the rush of being on stage.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. The show that's coming up for you, I'm looking at your calendar and correct me, it's November 21st. You're playing St. Louis, Missouri. It's the River City Casino Hotel.
Yep,
That's where
that's it.
you'll be playing. So you have a little time to rest your voice, all that. Is George Lynch, is he coming up to play with you too
Yep,
at that one? That's cool.
yep.
So how's
George
that
Lynch.
now with you and George? You both seen all these artists we talk about passing away. Ace Frehley passed away. The singer that was in King Cobra, Marcy Free, passed away. Um,
That's right.
Another one that passed. You see all these people in your life that either you passed somewhere on a stage or met or were friends with. When you see George now, is it a little different now with between you two? Like, hey, life's too short type of thing. Let's hug.
Well, we're too old to argue anymore, I think.
Yeah.
We made our money and our fame, and, we he has his own dressing room, and my boys and I share one, but it's fine. We get along as best we can. And but we're two different people. That's just the way it is. And it was ironic when I moved out of California. I've lived there my whole life, and I end up in New Mexico, and then George ends up buying a house, in New Mexico in Taos.
Oh,
And he
really?
goes, "Yeah, so we both live in the same state now, a 45-minute drive." And but George has his thing, and I think he said he's gonna might be calling today soon. Don't know,
Okay.
can't speak for him, but we both live, an hour from each other max.
You can catch all our episodes in our Patreon or in members only unedited. In the meantime, subscribe and click here on your screen for our next episode.